It's not hard to understand why Culmore Abbey is Ireland's #1 tourist attraction. The first stone was laid back in 1867 and it took a massive team of 100 men over 4 years to complete. And it's those sort of qualities of perseverance and endurance that are needed in abundance by the athletes gathered in the grounds today. Welcome to the 3rd IAU Trail Running World Championships.
This is the World Championships and people are competing here not for financial reward or anything like that, but for a world title. We've got athletes from every continent bar Antarctica, from 20 countries, and yeah, there's some world-class runners here, a couple of former world champions too.
One of the features of trail running is that the surface and the terrain are continually changing. No two courses are the same, and with such a massive variety of running specialists in the field today, it's almost impossible to predict a winner. Perhaps the only thing that's certain at this stage is that the luxury of running on smooth tarmac is going to be short-lived, because they're about to take on over 70 kilometres of the toughest course that has ever been set. While this course is never less than stunning to look at, it's also nothing other than gruelling, with 2 ascents of the 445-metre Darman Hill, followed by almost 5 kilometres of bog, then another ascent in the form of Ben Bourne at 729 metres, the highest peak in Connemara and County Galway. At the furthest point of the course, the runners will have to turn around and do Ben Bourne and the bogs all over again on their way back. With courses as tough as this, there's only one question to be asked: why?
It's just fantastic to be out in the wilds. You know, running as God intended, I suppose would be the way you'd put it. Running on natural ground, seeing the views are just absolutely stunning up there. Here in Connemara has some of the best views you'll ever see in Ireland. Absolutely tremendous. It's great to take on the challenge of everything nature can throw at you, and nature throws a lot harder challenges at you than anything man can. So, you know, getting out there for a full day is just fantastic. You're stretching your body to the limit, and with that you're stretching your mind to the limit, you know, to keep going, to stay competitive, to run the best you can.
The runners will have to concentrate on their footing every step of the way, and they do well to keep their eyes open, as Connemara is steeped in thousands of years of history and it's just inches below the surface.
Yeah, it's like a big wet archaeological park, soft, spongy, 6 metre deep, with bog bodies there, ancient tombs peeping out of the bog. They'll be stumbling across, if they only looked at their feet, whole series of artifacts. These are 2 that have come up from the bogs of Connemara in the last 10 days. Just accidental finds. One 6,000-year-old polished axe head from the mountains, just the mountains east of Connemara, and has been settled in, and people living in and around and off these boglands for the best part of the last 7,000 years. So it's a tough route they're taking, dotted with prehistoric tombs and abandoned ruined villages.
Canadian Jason Lutit is one of the race favourites, and this course, which is so challenging and in such a beautiful setting, is the perfect arena for him to show just what trail running is all about.
I think it suits everyone who wants to kind of overcome a moment of giving up on themselves or a moment of doubting, because every runner will go through that. They'll have a moment on the trail where they'll doubt themselves, they'll doubt everything about their life, and they'll work through it. And it's about those moments that add up, because there'll be hundreds of them out there during the course. That's why doing trail running, but then also doing ultra running is amazing, because you'll learn so much and let go of so much and just grow kind of spiritual as a runner.
Jason will face tough competition from the Irish team, who have a strong home advantage in this race. But who do the men in green have their eyes on?
Well, the Italians look good. You know, their kit looks good. they've got the kit. But yeah, I mean, we've got the Nepalese guy. He looks pretty strong. The French team, basically the countries where, you know, they're out in the morning running up and down these mountains, like, you know, just before breakfast.
So, with a good old-fashioned Connemara breakfast inside them, it's time for the trial by trail to begin.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's not exactly a sprint, but pacing is one of the key elements in trail running. The hare and the tortoise is an old cliche, but it could have been this event Aesop was thinking about when he first put pen to paper. Britain's top man, Stuart Mills, seems to have missed that chapter though and isn't hanging back.
It was reasonably steady actually. I mean, I like starting fast because I'm nice and fresh, and I was actually quite near the front at the start, which was a bit of a surprise.
It's going to be hard to go out slow enough. I think a lot of people will get really carried away. So I think if you can hold back enough and run hard the last half looks quite runnable. The first 20 are quite hilly, and I think if you go out too hard here, it could really backfire.
Canadian Jason Luted also seems willing to take that chance, and he's putting in an early push alongside Argentinian Gustavo Reyes.
The pace from the start line took off a little bit slower than I thought it would. Being an ultra, of course, and I know people being reserved, and so I just went comfortable and found I was towards the front. And at that point, my ambitions changed a tiny bit. I was thinking maybe I'm gonna gun it and try to go for it and do something that maybe a lot of times in ultras you don't do. You don't lead.
The course has got 4 climbs, and as the race goes on, they get steeper and bigger. Now, for the athletes that live and train in the Alps, the Rockies, or even the Himalayas, the climbs won't be too bad, but the descents are treacherous. And if the breathtaking views of Connemara tempt them to take their eye off the ground for even a second, it could end in disaster. While Lutit and Reyes are leading the men's race, Italian Cecilia Mora is keeping up the European challenge in the women's event as they arrive at Diamond Hill. At 445 metres, it might seem just a hill, but doing it twice makes it a mountain, and that's just what the course setters are having the athletes do right at the start of this 70-kilometre race.
You know, you're out there for a lot of time. You know, you've got to think about your nutrition, you've got to think about your hydration, you've got to think about your pace. So as you're running, there's a lot of things to think about. And if you get any of those wrong, ultra running is not the kind of thing to kind of forgive, and you could be out of the race quite quickly.
The moment we hit Diamond Hill, that's when the racing started, and these guys just absolutely motored up Diamond Hill. I was thinking I've gone too hard because I ran reasonably quick along the road, and then they just took off, and I tried to stay with them. Just that's what you do, and I thought that's a bad move.
Jason is skipping up Diamond Hill, while others are looking less polished. But every trail runner has emotional highs and lows along the way.
One step at a time, one mountain at a time, one runner at a time. One moment at a time, and like I said, those moments, they just add up, and you know, those are the moments that help you appreciate humility, or help you appreciate character, or some of those battles.
With the descent skills he shows, it's hard to believe Jason is far from the quickest downhiller in the event, and he soon lost the lead to Slethaugen Ludvigsen of Norway. It's not the first time today that we'll see compatriots running together.
Like, they flew by me, and it kind of woke me up again. It reminded me the European runner is more experienced, better at the descending. And when I saw the two guys fly by me, I was like, yeah, that's going to happen today. But I bet you it'll catch up.
His confidence is well placed as they head towards the first aid station, where runners can refuel and rehydrate. He's the first in, and it's very much a grab and go. By contrast, the Norwegians look relaxed, almost casual. Was this unusual Nordic inefficiency, or was their initial burst a decoy? Tactical psychology as well as physiology play a huge part in this sport.
As an athlete, as a runner, the ultra running community is just full of people who have great character. They're really respectful. But you got to be careful. It's like caged lions. And when you're out there, there's little tricks that people will be doing, whether it's pulling up next to somebody and breathing really heavy just to get them off their game, or even doing things by running a little bit too close for comfort for some people, or even running right behind them as close as possible, or surging or passing them going up a mountain when they're having a hard time. So there's little tricks and little games that those caged lions will be unleashing.
In a bid to gain a little bit of home advantage, the course setters have included over 5 kilometres of knee-deep, sticky Connemara peat bog, and it takes a superhuman effort just to walk through the stuff. I don't have any doubt that to do well on this course, you have to save a significant amount of energy for the final stages of this Irish speciality.
Yeah, you have a little bit of road and then bog. I've never ran on bog before. I didn't know if I was going to sink up to my waist or up to my armpits or what.
Incredible running from Lutit as he dances over the terrain, but if he does sink in the bog, there are plenty of rivals ready to pass him. Considering the 70-kilometre distance and the nature of the terrain, the pace and the class of running at this event is clear to see. The French in particular are making their presence felt as the race and the tricolore unfolds. At the next aid station, the importance of a slick fuel stop becomes apparent, with the French team gaining places as the Norwegians flounder. It's the men in red, white and blue who will provide the greatest threat to the Canadian Lutit. Join us after the break to see who will be crowned world champion. Welcome back to Ireland and the IAU Trail Running World Championships in Connemara. Canada's Jason Lutit is up front with Thierry Bruy and Eric Claverie from the strong French team gaining steadily. It's a tough 70-kilometre course, but can the stunning setting be any help to the competitors as the fatigue sets in?
In a sports psychology aspect, there's either intrinsic, inside, or outside. So you're either focusing on your cadence, your form, your breathing, or if that's out of whack, you focus on the trees, on the rocks, on the next runner. And if that, you get distracted by that again, you just turn it back inwards and just keep flip-flopping the whole time through.
After the 20k point, Jason's mental state is about to be tested. The French pair are just minutes down and have the advantage of each other for company and pacing as they approach more of the infamous Irish bog.
Is likely to cause a lot of problems to anyone who's overstretched themselves, because the bog tends to pull your feet back, and if you're anywhere close to cramping, and more than likely will cause you to go over the edge and start cramping, and things can go very badly wrong very quickly.
Come off and we ran across the first bit of bogs. That was the first bit of bog we experienced, and I thought, yep, this is going to be a hard day.
A few weeks back I lost my trainers a few times in the bog, and I know one of my teammates lost his arms as he was falling down into the bog and completely disappeared near enough. So it's tough around that area.
For the first time running in bog, I kind of like it. I think cadence and footing and proprioception are really important to me as a runner, and you have to do that in the bog to stay alive. The lighter you can place your foot and lift it up again, the least you'll sink in.
By this point, the runners are due some respite from the bogs, but in this sport, respite comes in many forms. In this case, it would be a double ascent of the 729-metre Ben Bourne. For Jason, there's no doubting his climbing ability. The technical descent, though, is more of a concern.
Descending, usually you'll have a trail or you have rocks, so I would try to aim for the rocks, and rock would go flying out, or try to dig my heels in on the grass, and there comes a certain point where, you know what, you're gonna have to be prepared to put your hands behind you, because you're gonna be sliding on your butt as you're going down. And my heart goes out to those runners who are finishing towards the end because of what the wear and tear on that mountain. They're coming down like a worn path. At least it was nice being towards the front, because I had a little bit of grass I could jump on and slide down.
On the descent, Claverie is closing in, but it's not just thoughts of winning that enable trail runners to push their limits and their luck.
Yeah, it's if you stand on top of the hills and you see the green land and the sea and all the lakes between it, and it's very, very beautiful, and freedom feel it's really great here.
All the mountain runners and the ultra trail runners are really tough people, and we are not like road runners that we need to keep a pace. So if we have to swim on the mud, we're going to do it, and we're going to feel like heroes at the end.
At the front of the race, Jason Lutet needs to shed any thoughts of heroism.
I try not to let myself think about being a world champion or finishing first, but those thoughts come in. And running for me is like meditation, so any thoughts that come in, sometimes I try to let them go. Any thoughts like I'm feeling good today, or I'm going to do good, or I feel like crap, or you know what, I don't think I can do it, or I don't think I can catch that next runner. Those thoughts have the same weight, and if I can let them go, stay in a state of meditation, it helps a little bit.
But perhaps Jason needs to concentrate a bit more on the details at the next pit stop. He looks indecisive and loses valuable time. When the French trio, Claverie, Bringer and Brie arrive in second, third and fourth, they seem to know exactly what they want, and there's an efficient support team to provide it. The French wrecked this course 3 months ago, and that kind of preparation is paying off now. At the turnaround, Lutet sees that his lead is down to just over a minute, with Claverie, now the lone Frenchman, closing in. There are 25 kilometres left to go, and the Canadians' race strategy is on trial.
If I'm going to achieve success, if I'm going to be the best I can be, I'm not going to be a pretender. I'm not going to be someone who's going to sit on someone else's butt and run their race and then pass them at the finish or something like that. You know, I'm going to put myself on that red line and push for as long as I can.
Has Jason been redlining it for too long? Although the effort is showing on the Frenchman's face too, he's moving well and is about to make the inevitable pass. At the drink stop, Italy's Mora is still leading the women's race. And it's a high five for her as she heads out, passing Claverie, now leading the men's race, and heading back. But the race is far from settled. The final 23 kilometres includes the second and potentially race-wrecking ascent and descent of Ben Bourne. At this stage of the race, anything can happen.
I never look back. So even going up Ben Bourne, after getting past for first place, I wouldn't look back to see where second or third were. But I kind of had a feeling that maybe they might be sneaking up on me to pass me descents, and I ended up getting passed by two runners close to the descent.
Silvano Fedele of Italy and Patrick Bringer of France both passed Jason as he drops to fourth on his way down Ben Bourne. It's a struggle for everyone though, with fatigue making the terrain even harder to negotiate. At the final aid station, that French efficiency pays off again. Claverie is through without a hitch, while Bringer passes Fedele for second. It's a French 1-2 with just 10 kilometres to go. Jason seems to have found a new set of batteries and he sets off on the final section. Everyone in the race must find inspiration and energy from wherever they can.
My son's 2.5 years old, and I ran around the whole world in '07 with a Blue Planet Run to raise funds and awareness for clean drinking water. ended up meeting a Japanese teammate, never spoke any English, and we now have a 2.5-year-old son. He says to me sometimes, you can do it, Papa. Or, so, you know, thinking a little bit about him or family or trying to dig deep.
Jason moves up into third. And then passes Bringer to move into second. But does he have enough of the course left to claim the win? Eric Claverie, though, has no need to worry. If he can keep his legs turning over steadily as he's done for the last 6 hours, he'll claim the world title with his family waiting at the finish. Emotional scenes and an incredible final burst from Lutit, who surpasses his own expectations in finishing second.
What a finish, man, what a finish.
Whew. Yeah, not enough training sliding down mountains.
Bronze goes to Patrick Bringer, who can't run another step, while Norway's Torbjørn Ludvigsen takes fourth ahead of Fidel, whose hopes sank in the final section of the bog. Connemara has put on an amazing race, and the French champion put in a performance worthy of winning it.
I know if I climb first at the top of the last hill, I can. It's possible for me to win the finish. It's very happy for me. The course is very hard and it's very difficult race. Yes.
And what's it like to be a world champion?
Well, I don't know now. But in few days, I think I understand what I have to do. But now it's a beautiful day.
France's Maud Gobert makes it a double for this well-prepared team, with Italy's Cecilia Mora claiming second. Lucy Colquhoun is the highest-placed British runner in the competition, only 16 minutes behind Gobert. As for the Frenchwoman, though, like her teammates, no Irish bogs or bends or indeed damaged ankles could stop her. Trail runners really are a different breed.
On the second descent of Ben Baum, I was with Paul, my teammate. He was going faster because he was on his ass, whereas I was on my feet, so I was a little bit slower. So it was tremendously difficult out there.
Fantastic. Yeah, superb. Oh, superb, yeah. Yeah, great. And look at that sunshine, an island. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, had the whole battle of tears a few times, just don't know why, but you know, it's just so tough.
There are still one or two runners out on the course, but already we know the day belongs to France. Not only have they won both individual titles, but they've won both team events as well, with some superb running up on the mountains. However, this is the sort of event where you have to congratulate anyone who finishes the course, and there have been some truly inspiring performances out there today.